Hey guys, welcome back to my Psych life. Today's video is going to be about my grad school interview. So if you guys watched the first video, you would have heard me mention finding out whether or not the school that you're trying to apply to requires a grad school interview. Mine did, and it was really cool. I was really excited because some schools will say that they may invite you. So sometimes you don't necessarily have to be invited out to interview, but I really wanted to. So it was really cool. I wanted to kind of talk you guys through my experience, even though yours may be very different. Again, different schools may have a different process for the grad school interview. They may have a very structured process, or they may do something really conversational and laid back, which is what my school ultimately did. So I received notification that I was being invited out to interview. I was given probably a month's notice. That way I could get my plane tickets, set my hotel reservation if that's something that I decided to do. It was an all-day process. So what I decided to do was to fly out the night before, because interviews started at 8 a.m. or orientation, should I say. When we first arrived, it was about... nope. I tried to let you out. You didn't want to go. No, no marching. My dog's going to be crying a little bit in the background, but he's going to stay because I tried to let him out already. So, they invited, I want to say, there was probably 30, 35 people that got invited out to interview. So you come down the next morning at 8 a.m., you get breakfast, and about 8:30, we all head into orientation. And they have everybody go around the room and kind of introduce themselves, talk about their future career goals, also share about their current education and what type of work they currently do. They also kind of go over that everybody that's in the room might be an applicant, but not everybody that we see there today is going to be a part of your cohort. So they do about an hour and a half overview of the program so they can get into the nitty gritty, all the details, and allow people to determine at that point if there's anything that you hear that is not aligned with what you want to do, that you can, leave at any time, basically, which I think is awesome because not everyone, come on, you. Sorry, guys. Come on, because you just want some attention. So let me bring you up here. So not everyone will like everything that comes out in the actual overview of the program, and when they're talking about expectations and things like that. So, hi, darling. So they do this 1.5 hour overview. It's super detailed. They talk about each of the semesters, the length of the semesters, expectations, and milestones along the way. They talk pretty in depth about residency, because again, guys, remember, my university is an online school. So for the academic components that people would sit in the classroom and get lecture on, we actually do online learning, and it's pretty it is pretty intensive. So when people say that online programs are relaxed and that you could possibly learn as much as you do sitting in a classroom, I'm an advocate for the opposite of that, because I don't find that to be true. I did it at the undergrad level, bachelor's level, and master's level, and I definitely don't find it now. Like, my master's program was primarily brick and mortar. However, we did have like summer options where we could pick up a couple of electives in the summer and do them online, and they were just as intensive as going into classes for the other courses. So they talk a lot about the online platform, expectations. They try to prepare you as much as possible for the workload because it is intense. It is intense, guys. I'm in my 3rd semester now, so I can absolutely do a video on workload, how you need to plan, etc. Because, yeah. So they talk a lot about that, and then they talked about our residency. So we have to travel in every other month for X amount of time to complete our residency, our face-to-face residency component. This is the thing that qualifies you to sit for state licensure. You have to have the residency component. They talk about practicum, which is exactly the same as a brick and mortar school expectation. We have to have our practicum. The only difference is you have people from all over the country that have to secure their own practicum sites. I don't know that it's any different with a brick and mortar school, but you have to meet the same hours requirements. And then they also talked about internship, which we have two, pretty much 1 year internships. So in all, I'll be doing clinical hands-on for about 3 years, following all the academic components. The only difference, guys, is that for all of the classroom teaching, we do it in an online format, and it's very interactive. I know for a fact the professors, I don't know if they're reading everybody's papers, but I know they're reading mine. Reading all of my discussion posts, you interact with your fellow cohort members, and even people from other cohorts as well, because depending on how they line up their classes, you can have people that are second year students, third year students, what have you, just depending on what's going on with them. So they go through all of that. They talk through the dissertation process, and all the tracks that you have that are available to you for completing the dissertation. They talk about comp exams as well. Because comps happen right before you go into practicum. They set very clear expectations around how you continue to move on and meet each one of the milestones of the program. So I would say from the time that we sat down for the overview to the time that we got our first break after the overview was over, probably 7 people decided to leave. Now, here's what I'll say about that. Because again, remember, we had to fly in to Phoenix. So I'm coming from Illinois. We flew to Phoenix. People are flying from all over. There were people from everywhere. So I don't know why people got to this stage and didn't truly understand all of the requirements of the program, the travel for residency, all of that. Like, it perplexed me, because if I'm buying a plane ticket, I'm pretty solid that I'm gonna go to the school, but to each his own. Okay. So oh, I forgot to mention, when we checked in for orientation, or this overview session, or whatever I'm gonna call it, orientation, before the interview, they handed everybody a packet, had your name on it, had a bunch of detailed information about the day and what you could expect. It had a schedule for who you were going to interview with, and at what time you were going to interview, and what room you were to have your interview. And it had when our lunch breaks were scheduled, when the overview was, and then we had an afternoon overview where we came back and we talked through more information about the program. They talked about expectation for when we would be notified if we were in or not, and they actually had an in-person essay writing experience. So we had to do that so you had all day to get your writing sample in, but they brought like 10 computers. I think it was by design, so that people had to wait, and so that while some people were in interview, they could be writing, and vice versa, right? So after our overview, some of us got to walk around a little bit. I had a morning interview, which was great. I walked around with a couple of people that I had met in the orientation. We kind of talked a little bit and got to know each other. And then we would go and stand outside of our rooms and wait for our turn to get into our interview. For me, I think our interview process was kind of semi-structured, because the professors that were interviewing us, or the chair or whomever was interviewing you, they had specific questions that they asked of us, but they did it in a conversational manner. So I liken it to, in my professional world, it's like behavioral interviewing where you ask a very specific question, but if the person interviews really well, they're able to answer the question in a very conversational way that allows the interviewer to extract answers to other questions from the answers given in that question. So questions were like, what is your support system like? Why did you choose this university? What do you want to do for your dissertation? What are your future career goals? How do you think this program, sorry guys, I'm getting a little bit of hair from my dog. How do you think this program aligns you to your career goals? They asked about your, um, did they ask me about my therapeutic orientation? They may have asked me about, my therapeutic orientation. They may have asked me um, about projects and other things that I had done in my master's level program. What things did I have in place to prepare me for the doctoral journey? Did I truly understand what it would take to get through a doctoral program? Did I have a plan for getting through the program, both financially and academically? Um, did I have a plan for leaving my job? All those kinds of things, right? Because at a certain point in the program, especially when you get to internship, you are not allowed to keep your full-time job. Um, you are not allowed to, if you're currently working in the field, you're not allowed to continue to work for your current employer in the same capacity. And then there are specifics around who can supervise you and things like that. So my interview went really, really well, obviously, because I got into the program. But at the time, I felt like it went really, really well. We actually went over just a little bit, even though, we were all, scheduled, sequentially. So, there was like a 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30. And then you go and you have lunch with second and third year students who are there on their residency rotations. So, because residency is held in the same place as the interviews by design, so that incoming students have the opportunity to fraternize with current students at different levels within the program. So, and they tell you at the beginning that the whole day is an interview. You're being observed, you're having your direct interactions with different folks and things like that. So we went to lunch. I sat at a table that had 3 or 4 second and third year students. We were able to ask them questions about the program, lookouts, watch outs, what did they really think of the program? What were some of the barriers or obstacles they had to face? It was really cool. And then you got to exchange information with people. So I tried to get to know as many people as I possibly could. And excuse me, I did the same at breakfast actually, because I met some folks that were there, and you got your little name tag on and people will talk to you, which I thought was great that other students talked to us, at breakfast and throughout the day when we would be passing in the halls and stuff. And they were really encouraging and telling us not to worry about the interview process. And then they bring you back into the room after your interviews, and they go through the second half of the overview. And then at that point, you're free to go. So a lot of us that were there, we did like a contact information sheet where we shared information with each other so we could keep in touch while we were waiting. And it was interesting because a couple weeks afterwards, because so they told us probably 2 to 3 weeks following we would know if we were being accepted into the program or not. So, I think I probably had like 6 people that I was keeping in touch with. So we would all keep each other up to date. I think I was one of the first people to get my notification that I was accepted into the program. So I was telling everybody, call your advisor, your enrollment advisor, and find out if they got the word. Because I think I found out from my enrollment advisor versus getting the email. I think the email came second. Um, And so, yeah, that was kind of it, guys. It was a really great experience. So, if you do have the opportunity to interview in person, and if it's done in the similar fashion as my school, I know sometimes you could do an interview over the phone or maybe it's on a one off day. But if you have the opportunity to come out with other people and fraternize and do that, I would say go for that, opt for that so that you can meet other people that are interested in your program. That's how you start to build your network, of course, and get closer to people who are going to be going through this journey the same as you. Um, and that's about it, guys. I mean, the interview was awesome. I'm glad I had the experience. I'm glad I got in. So hopefully you guys like this video. Hopefully it helps you if you are someone who is going to be doing an interview or planning to apply to grad school. I hope to see you back here again, and thanks for watching my Psych Life. See you guys next time.